South Korean movies and TV shows are taking over global film markets. If you haven't noticed this yet in your own streaming library, let's quickly check the stats. South Korean content ranks second after the US on Netflix by total watch hours, making up around 8–9% of all viewing time. For comparison, British content holds only about 7%. Squid Game was the ultimate hit and held the record for views for a long time, but it's already been surpassed by another show. And yes, it's also Korean. I'll reveal which one at the end, because the answer holds one of the surprising and less obvious reasons behind the success of Korean content. My name is Nikita, you're watching a little longer, and today we'll figure out how South Korean movies and dramas went from being a curiosity to becoming real competitors to Hollywood. Of course, we'll talk about the content and quality of South Korean productions, but first, let's figure out where this powerful film industry came from. By the number of TV dramas produced last year, Korea ranks around 4th or 5th in the world, behind the US, China, India, Turkey and Russia. But here's the thing, chances are you've barely seen any Chinese or Indian dramas. Korean ones, on the other hand, you've definitely come across at least once. One of the main reasons behind the scale of Korean film production is that Koreans themselves absolutely love their own movies and dramas. For Americans, this might not sound surprising, but in the most countries around the world, local cinema either falls behind Hollywood in popularity or at best barely competes with it. In South Korea, from the end of World War II up until the 1990s, the country was ruled by the military. During most of the time, there was strict censorship and heavy quotas on foreign films. In practice, that meant there wasn't much to watch besides local movies and shows, and Koreans got used to consuming homegrown content. Even when more democratic governments came into power, the quotas were reduced but never fully removed. For example, local cinemas are still required to show Korean films for at least 73 days each year. This mix of state support and genuine audience interest, and Koreans are very active moviegoers, has allowed the industry to thrive and make solid profits. The top domestic films can compete with Hollywood blockbusters at the box office. The most commercially successful one, the historical epic The Admiral Roaring Currents, was watched by 18 million people, nearly a third of the entire population. Another box office hit, Extreme Job, cost just 6 million to make, but grossed 120 million and drew over 16 million viewers. In Korea, those films outperformed Avengers Endgame and Avatar. So for South Korea, cinema is serious business. You can make a powerful film and see it pay off, even without Netflix funding your project. And as always happens in money-making industry, plenty of players join the game, and among them, quite a few turn out to be truly talented. The first true local South Korean blockbuster was Shiri, released in 1999, a spy thriller about North Korean agents operating in Seoul. It was seen by 7 million people, an enormous number for the time. For comparison, Titanic, released just a year earlier, had only drawn 4.5 million viewers in Korea. Shiri became a loud statement that Korean cinema could indeed be commercially successful. Interestingly, the production of the film was sponsored by Samsung. In year 2000, Park Chan-wook's joint security era was screened at the Berlin Film Festival. By 2003, the film Silmido hit Korean theaters and surpassed 10 million admissions, setting a new record. That same year, Korean cinema achieved its first serious international breakthrough. Park Chan-wook's Oldboy won the Grand Prix at the Cannes Film Festival, the festival's second most prestigious award. By the way, I've already talked in another video about the film's most iconic scene and how it impressed Quentin Tarantino himself. Soon after, Korean directors became significant enough to collaborate internationally. In 2012, Park Chan-wook directed Stalker with Nicole Kidman. In 2013, Kim Jin-woon released The Last Stand starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Chris Evans and Tilda Swinton starred in Bong Joon-ho's blockbuster Snowpiercer. In 2016 came the premiere of Korean's first true international mega hit, Yong Sang-hoo's Train to Busan. And finally, in 2019, Bong Joon-ho's Parasite was released. First, it won the Palme d'Or at Cannes, surpassing achievement of Oldboy, and then pulled off the unthinkable. In 2020, Parasite became the first non-English language film ever to win the Academy Award of the Best Picture. On top of that, it also took home Oscars for Best International Feature, Best Original Screenplay and Best Director. At that moment, European and American audience clearly realized that Korean films weren't just festival curiosities, they were full-fledged competitors to Hollywood. Naturally, this fueled growing interest in many other Korean productions as well. Streaming producers didn't need to wait for Parasite's Oscar win to start paying attention to South Korea. They already keep a close eye on global markets, eager to be first to buy the rights to local hits or sign deals with promising creators. So they were well aware of potential Korean studios had. In 2019, Netflix released Kingdom, its first original Korean series, a zombie thriller set in medieval Korea. The show earned strong ratings and very positive reviews. After Kingdom's success, Netflix invested more than 700 million into Korean content. And as we all know, it paid off. Squid Game became a worldwide sensation. But streaming platforms aren't buying up Korean content only because of the talent of the local writers, directors and actors. There's also a huge economic factor. It's much cheaper than American shows. A full 16-episode season of Korean romantic drama can be produced for just around $3 million. And it performs on the same level as top American series that might cost $5 million per episode. Let's compare two equally important projects. Squid Game was considered very expensive by Korean standards, costing about $21 million for the entire first season. Meanwhile, HBO's Game of Thrones had episodes that cost up to $15 million each. So, with a comparable impact, Korean series are much more cost-effective. No wonder Disney+, Apple TV+, and Amazon Prime quickly followed Netflix's example and began actively buying Korean dramas to fill the international catalogs. Okay, so we figured out how Korean content broke into Western markets, but it also had to win over viewers, which wasn't so easy. The entire cast is Asian, the setting is a distant country. For many audiences, it wasn't simple to get past the sense of unfamiliarity and truly connect with the characters' struggles. After the end of the Korean War, American troops were stationed in South Korea for several decades. Along with them, despite the film quotas, came elements of American lifestyle, as well as music and movies. Korean creative elites learned from those Western examples, and later many Korean directors even received their education in the United States. The local film education system was also built on American models, and the Korean studios themselves were structured in a way similar to Hollywood. As a result, modern Korean cinema and TV series meet most Hollywood standards. Their cinematic language, directing style, visuals, and storytelling techniques turned out to be familiar and accessible to American audience and to anyone else already accustomed to Hollywood productions. This greatly simplified their entry into international markets. So, stylistically, Korean content doesn't feel foreign or off-putting to a Western audience. But what about the themes and stories themselves? On one side, there are K-dramas, often romantic television series that dominate the export market of Korean content. Love and romance are emotions that anyone, anywhere in the world can understand, but K-dramas differ from their American counterparts in a few key ways. First, they usually have an ending. 16 episodes, a happy conclusion, and that's it. By contrast, Hollywood shows often drag out complex relationships endlessly from season to season. K-dramas are also more romantic in tone. Relationships develop slowly, with less focus on sex and explicitness. This makes them especially appealing to younger audience. At the same time, Korean dramas easily blend romance with fantasy, history, medical plots, or even crime. This kind of genre blending is in fact one of the hallmarks of Korean content. Take Parasite for example. It starts as a social comedy, turns into thriller, and ends as a tragedy. And these shifts don't dilute the genres, each is portrayed vividly. In Hollywood, when comedy and thriller are combined, the violent scenes usually end up being toned down. Korean directors, on the other hand, love to shock the audience. Sudden genre shifts are one of their tools, along with raw depictions of violence and unexpected twists. Often, every major character can turn out to be morally compromised. In I Saw the Devil, for example, both the killer and the avenger reveal themselves as monsters. Another key factor is their bold choice of themes: social inequality, indifference of society, corruption, family conflicts. All the topics that mainstream American cinema tends to avoid often form the backbone of Korean storytelling. And if you look at the Oscar winners of the past 15 years, it becomes clear that raw social issues resonate with American audience more deeply than flashy adventures. Squid Game is a vivid example of all this, a series about what poverty can drive people to, how the rich view the poor, and what greed does to human beings. It mixes cold-blooded violence with openly comedic characters, and somehow it works perfectly. Earlier, I promised to tell you which show pushed Squid Game off the top spot on Netflix. It was the animated film K-pop Demon Hunters. It has already racked up over 266 million views, and yes, as you can guess, it's also Korean and it's about K-pop. And that brings us to one of the less obvious but absolutely key factors behind the success of Korean dramas and films: K-pop music. It's considered the second wave of Hallyu, the Korean cultural wave. K-pop musicians are so globally popular that films are still trying to catch up their level. Even if you, or especially your kids, somehow avoided falling into the world of Korean girl groups and boy bands, you definitely remember Psy's Gangnam Style. It doesn't exactly represent what K-pop is today, but it was the first rocket that launched the genre into the global stratosphere. Legendary K-pop group BTS are among the most streamed artists on Spotify. I won't list all their records, but it's safe to say that if they are not the most popular act in the world, they are certainly in the top 3. And the other K-pop groups like Blackpink, Stray Kids and their rising newcomers quickly dominate international charts as well. What really sets K-pop fans apart is the intensity of their engagement. They form fan clubs, follow idols obsessively on social media, and spread the new releases at lightning speed. They buy merchandise and immerse themselves in anything related to Korean culture. So it's no surprise that K-pop fans quickly got hooked on K-dramas too, which also feature plenty of attractive young leads. In this way, K-pop played a massive role in boosting the global appeal of Korean series. But neither K-pop nor K-dramas would have reached such heights without government support. After the 1997 Asian financial crisis, South Korea's government decided the economy shouldn't rely solely on manufacturing. Culture could be an engine too. The state began offering loans and grants to production companies. It funded the Korean Creative Content Agency, which helps musicians and studios expand abroad. A system of training companies was created to prepare new idols. At the same time, the government heavily subsidized the IT sector, which made it easier to push content digitally through online charts, streams and fan communities. Today, Hallyu is a central tool of South Korea's soft power and a major source of revenue. Thanks to cultural experts, the country earns tens of billions of dollars each year, and it doesn't look like they plan on slowing down anytime soon. That's all for today. Share in the comments when you first discovered Korean content and whether you enjoyed it. And if you are not subscribed to A Little Longer, make sure to do so. Every 2 weeks we release something new and exciting about the world of cinema. My name is Nikita, see you next time.